All right, for this lesson, we are going to be looking at unit conversions. So the relationships between commonly used customary and metric units are shown on that metric customary unit conversion sheet provided in your resource packet. And in that, we have what we call unit ratios. So unit ratios are one in which the denominator is 1 unit. So if we look at that metric customary unit conversion sheet in your resource packet, we can fill in these unit ratios. So for example, inches compared to feet. And maybe you already have that one memorized, but 1 foot is equivalent to 12 inches. Another unit ratio comparing ounces to pounds is that 1 pound is equivalent to 16 ounces. And then one more is that 1 meter is equivalent to 100 centimeters. So when we are looking at these unit conversions, we're going to use unit ratios like this. And it doesn't have to be inches on top, feet on the bottom. All that matters is we're using this conversion, 12 inches to 1 foot. It could be 1 foot on top, 12 inches on the bottom. We're going to be setting up blank proportions just like we've been doing for everything else this unit. We're going to identify the 2 different units that we're converting between. We're going to label our proportions, our ratios. And we're going to use we're going to fill in the left column or the ratio with the unit ratio. So that first column is either going to be, for example, if it's feet to yards, 3 feet over 1 yard or 1 yard over 3 feet. And then we'll fill in the other missing information and solve. So we're going to clear this out. So looking at number 1, if 1 yard is equal to 3 feet and a football field is 100 yards, how many feet is that? So first off, when I am looking at this, I see my conversion right here. I'm going to have you highlight that. I'm just circling down here because that's easier. Okay, we're comparing yards to feet. Does not matter the order. I'm just going to put yards on top since that came first, feet on the bottom. And I'm going to plug in this initial ratio. 1 yard is equal to 3 feet. Then the other information that's given to me is 100 yards. We put yards on top, so I'm putting that 100 on top, which means I'm solving for the feet, which makes sense. It says how many feet. Now I'm going to get out my 2 highlighter colors and I'm going to highlight my 2 diagonals. Diagonal number 1 and diagonal number 2. And then we're going to solve the problem. So plugging this in, my diagonal that has 2 numbers in it is 3 and 100. So we're going to multiply 3 times 100, which is equal to 300. And then step 2 is we divide by the other number in the other diagonal. So the other diagonal has the number 1. So we divide by 1. 300 divided by 1 is just 300. And our units that we were solving for, x was on the bottom, which matches up with feet. So that tells us that 100 yards is equal to 300 feet. Let's look at number 2. If 1 gallon is equal to 4 quarts, convert 34 quarts to gallons. So this initial sentence right here gives me that unit ratio. I'm going to highlight this here, circle it here. 1 gallon is equal to 4 quarts. So the 2 units that we're using, maybe I use G for gallons, Q for quarts, or maybe write out the full word. Either way works. 1 goes with gallons, so gallons on top. 4 goes with quarts, so quarts on the bottom. And then the other number that's given to us is 34 quarts. Quarts was on the bottom, so we're going to put 34 on the bottom, which means our unknown is the gallons on top. Now I'm going to get out my 2 highlighter colors and we're going to highlight those 2 diagonals. So we have diagonal number 1 and diagonal number 2. And now we're going to solve our proportion. The diagonal that has 2 numbers in it is this one right here. We have 1 and 34. So I'm going to do 34 times 1, which is just 34. And then we divide by the number that's in the other diagonal, the one with the variable. So the number there is 4. So I'm going to divide 34 by 4. And when I plug that into my calculator, I get 8.5. And the units that we were solving for, X was on the top, that corresponds with gallons. So I could put GAL to represent gallons. I could write the whole thing. Either way, the conversion is that 34 quarts is equal to 8.5 gallons. All right. Moving on to the next page. You can flip over to the back. And looking at number 3. If 1 inch is equal to 2.5 centimeters, 2.54 centimeters, convert 40 inches to centimeters. So that initial ratio that's given to us is right here. 1 inch is equal to 2.54 centimeters. So we're comparing inches and centimeters. And I'm going to plug in that initial ratio. 1 goes with inches, 2.54 goes with centimeters. So 2.54. Now I'm going to look for the other number that's given to us in the problem. Right here, it gives us 40 inches. Inches was on top, so I'm going to put that 40 on the top, which means we are solving for the centimeters on the bottom. Now I'm going to highlight my 2 diagonals. So we have diagonal number 1 and diagonal number 2. Now let's multiply to solve. So we find the diagonal that has 2 numbers in it. This diagonal right here has 2 numbers. So we're going to multiply 2.54 times 40 is equal to, if I plug that into my calculator, I get 2.54 times 40 is equal to 101.6. And then step 2, we divide by the other number in the other diagonal, which is 1. So I'm going to divide this by 1, and I get the same number, 101.6. The units that we are solving for, X was on the bottom. That corresponds with centimeters. So 101.6 centimeters. All right, number 4, if 1 kilometer is equal to 1,000 meters, convert 5,000 meters to kilometers. So that initial ratio that's given to us is right here in the first sentence. 1 kilometer is equal to 1,000 meters. So the units that we have are kilometers and meters. And 1 kilometer, the 1 goes with kilometers, 1,000 goes with meters. Now we look at the other number that was given to us. We were given 5,000 what? 5,000 meters. Meters went on the bottom, so this 5,000 goes on the bottom. We are solving for the kilometers. Now I'm going to highlight my 2 diagonals. So diagonal 1 diagonal 2, and let's solve. First, looking for the diagonal that has two numbers, this one right here, the 1 and the 5,000. So we're going to do 5,000 times 1, which is just 5,000. And then we divide by the other number in the other diagonal. So in that other diagonal, we have 1,000. So we're going to divide by 1,000. And 5,000 divided by 1,000 is equal to 5. Our units, X was on top. That was talking about kilometers. So 5 kilometers is our answer there. All right, moving on to number 5. After I erase these. All right, number 5. If 1 mile is equal to 5,280 feet, convert 10,560 feet to miles. So 10,560 feet to miles. So first, I'm identifying that initial ratio. We're comparing miles for one unit to feet for our other unit. 1 mile compared to 5,280 feet. I'm gonna redo that 0. Okay, then the other number that's given to us here, we have 10,560 feet. Feet was on bottom, so we're gonna do 10,560 feet, which means we are solving for miles. Now we're gonna highlight our two diagonals. So diagonal 1 in one color, diagonal 2 in another color, and start solving. The diagonal that has two numbers in it, we're going to multiply it. So we're doing 10,560 multiplied by 1, which is just the same number. 10,500. That was kind of a weird. 560 divided by the other number in the other diagonal, 5,280. When I divide those two numbers, I get 2. So our answer is 2 what? Well, our X was on top. That was talking about miles. So it is equal to 2 miles. All right, and then last problem, same thing, is just set up as a table. We've used ratio tables before. We've already done the setup with the conversion, so it's really the same thing, just combining the two. So first off, when I look at this, the two units that we are comparing are feet and yards. So we have 2 blanks, so there's 2 things we're going to solve for. So I'm going to set up for both of these proportions. Feet, yards. Feet, yards. Then I need to look at where I'm given both the feet and the yards. This first ratio right here gives us both values, 3 feet to 1 yard. So that's going to be my initial ratio for both, 3 feet to 1 yard, 3 feet to 1 yard. Now I'm going to do one at a time. So first I'm going to look at solving when the yards is 11. So for the first one, yards is 11. We are solving for the feet. The second one, feet, is 72. Solving for the yards. So let's go ahead and highlight our diagonals, one in one color, the other in another color. And then we're going to solve both of these. So this top one here, the diagonal that has two numbers is this one right here, 3 and 11. So we're going to do 3 times 11 is equal to 33. And divide by the number in the other diagonal. So we're dividing by 1, which is just 33. And x was on top, so that was talking about feet. So 33 feet for that first unknown. And I can also put that in that spot right here, 33. Then the other one we're going to solve, the diagonal that has two numbers in it is this one right here, 1 and 72. So we're doing 1 times 72, which is just 72. And then we're dividing by the other number in the other diagonal, so we're dividing by 3. So 72 divided by 3, when you plug that in, you get 24. And what were we talking about? X is on the bottom, which was yards. So 24 yards. And that 24 would go in this blank spot here for the yards. And that's it.